Hare Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim sarasvatim vyasam tato jayam udirayet. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is a very means of conquest, one should first offer obeisances into the personality of Godhead, Narayan, and to Narayan, which is the supermost human being, and to Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto the author, Srila Vyasadeva. And we are reading from the third canto entitled the Status Quo. We are in chapter 4 entitled Vidura Approaches Maitreya. And from my memory, we are on text 24. Let me do something about what's happening on my screen. I made a mistake here. Okay, so I think I will be okay like that. Okay, so again, Canto 3, Chapter 4, Text 24, one Sanskrit word at a time. Sa Mahabhagavatam Rajantam Korava Rishabha Vishrambat Abhyadata Idam Mukyam Krishna Parigrahe Brahe Satam Mahabhagavatam Rajantam Korava Shabam Vishambad Abhyadatam Mukyam Krishna Parigrahe Satam Mahabhagavatam Rajantam Korava Shabam Vishambad Abhyadatam Mukyam Krishna Parigrahe Satam Mahabhagavatam Rajantam Korava Shabam Vishwambad Abhyadatam Mukyam Krishna Parigrahe
Mukyam Krishna Parigrahe Satam Mahabhagavatam Prashatam Karavashabaha
Rajantam Kuravashabaha
Vishrambhat Apiyat Atandam
Vishambad Abhyadattedam
Mukyam Krishna Parigraha
Mukyam Krishna Parigrahe. Someone online would like to chant?
Tatam Mahabhagavatam
Tatam Mahabhagavatam
Rajantam Kauravarshabha
Rajantam Kuravashabaha
Vishrambhadabhyadattedam
Vishambad Abhyadattedam
Mukyam Krishna Parigrahe.
Mukyam Krishna Parigrahe. Anybody else would like to chant? Okay. One wants Sanskrit at the time with English translation. Sa Vidura
Vidura
Tam
Tam
unto Uddhava
unto Uddhava
Mahabhagavatam,
Mahabhagavatam,
the great devotee of the Lord,
the great devotee of the Lord,
Prajantam,
Prajantam,
while going,
going,
Kaurava Rishabha,
Karavashabaha,
the best among the Kauravas,
the best amongst the Kauravas,
Vishwambat,
Vishrambhat,
out of confidence,
out of confidence,
Abhyadatta,
Abhyadatta,
submitted,
submitted,
idam, this, Mukyam,
Mukyam,
unto the chief,
unto the chief,
Krishna,
Krishna,
Lord Krishna,
Lord Krishna,
Parigrahe,
Parigrahe,
in devotional service to the Lord.
in devotional service to the Lord.
While Uddhava, the chief and most confidential among the devotees of the Lord, was going away, Vidura in affection and confidence questioned him. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Vidura was much older than Uddhava. By family relationship, Uddhava was a contemporary brother of Krishna, while Vidura was as elderly as Krishna's father, Vasudeva. But also junior by age, Uddhava was much advanced in devotional service of the Lord, and therefore is described herein as the chief among the devotees of the Lord. Vidura was confident about this, and thus he addressed Uddhava in that higher category. That is the way of courteous dealing between two devotees. Om Ajnana-timiram dasya Jnana-jala shalakaya Chakshun militam yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Shtapitam yena bhutale Swayam upakadamayam Datati swapadam tikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavam Cha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Ragunatam Vitam Tam Sachivam Sadvaitam Sadvatutam Parijana Saita Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitam Cha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagat Pate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gorangi Radhe Vrindavandeshwari Vishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Yaripiye Priye Vanchakalpatarubhya Kripa Sindhubhya Vacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namam Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Sarasvate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvesesha Shunyavadi Pastyacha Dejatarine Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Mukam Kung Oti Vachlam, Pangum Langayate Kring, Sagu, Shigu Dejatarinam, Shi Tamaham Bande, Shigu Dejatarinam. Hare Krishna. So we are reading text 24 of chapter 4 of Canto 3. That the translation is, while Uddhava, the chief and most confidential among the devotees of the Lord, was going away, Vidura in affection and confidence questioned him. So Srila Prabhupada in his purport is going to like describing the two dynasties, the Kauravas dynasty, and then there is a Yadu dynasty. So those two dynasties are like parallel, constantly parallel, and having pastime with each other. So Uddhava is a cousin of Krishna. Why? Because Vasudeva, the father of Krishna, the biological father of Krishna, his brother is Uddhava's father. So that's how they are cousin brother. And so Uddhava is the same age than Krishna. And Vidura is a Kuru from the Kuru dynasty. So he's age of the father of Vasudeva, is the age of Dhritarashtra, is the brother of Arjuna's father, you know, like, because we know Arjuna. Most of us, we know Arjuna because we have read the Bhagavad Gita. We may not know who the Kurus are, for example, or the Kauravas. So we want to situate ourselves in what we know. So Arjuna's father is Pandu. Pandu's older brother, Dhritarashtra, who is like the king at the time of the battlefield of Kurukshetra. And then Vidura is their younger brother. Not by much. They were all born at the same time. And so Vidura will be the age of Krishna or Uddhava's father. So in that way, by seniority of age, which is what most society go about, then Vidura is senior to Uddhava, and we will see how it plays out later on. But right now, what's playing out, it's not the seniority by age, it's a seniority by advancement. That Uddhava was celebrated as the most, like, how it says here exactly. The most confidential among the devotees of the Lord. And then Srila Prabhupada said, was much advanced in devotional service of the Lord. And therefore is described here as a chief among the devotees of the Lord. So Uddhava was very intimate. First, Uddhava has almost the same feature as the Lord. He looked like when Krishna sent Uddhava to Vrindavan. When the resident of Vrindavan saw Uddhava, they were like, oh, this is almost Krishna. They knew it wasn't Krishna, but almost Krishna. And so Uddhava, by dint of being from the family of Krishna, his cousin, the same age, they are very good friends. He's very intelligent. When Krishna was in Dwarka, he will always ask Uddhava for guidance. He took him as his guide, his coach. And also, this is very special that Uddhava was sent to Vrindavan, because most of the time there is separation between the inhabitant of Vrindavan and the inhabitant of Dwarka. They are different categories, but there is two personalities that are in both worlds. One is Rohini, the mother of Balaram, and the other one is Uddhava, because Krishna wanted him to experience the love and devotion and intimacy that the resident of Vrindavan have for him. So Krishna was kind of guiding Uddhava in a very intimate way. And Uddhava got to experience the transcendental love of the gopis, and including Srimati Radharani for Krishna. And of course, not any devotee can have that great boon. And also, as we have seen for the last few verses, Uddhava was there at the time of Krishna's departure, and Uddhava heard from Krishna's at the time of his departure. So that makes him even more special. And of course, Vidura, he doesn't want Uddhava to leave. They had a conversation. It was a sunset, the conversation started, maybe it's the next day. Uddhava is eager to fulfill like the order of Krishna. Krishna said to Uddhava, now that I'm leaving this planet, I want you to go to Badarik Ashram. And in Badarik Ashram, in the Himalayas, it's way up in the Himalayas. There's always ice there. But like, it's where Narayana Rishi lives. It's where Vyasadeva lives. That's where a lot of great advanced devotees go, because nobody, ordinary person, can go there because it's too austere. So he sent Uddhava there for him to share, for that knowledge to be held. And then Uddhava is very eager, because by following the order of the Lord, by following the instruction of the Lord, then he can be close to the Lord. It can be in separation from the Lord, because Uddhava feels so much emotion in that conversation with Vidura. Every question Vidura put before him, what's happening with the Yadus, what's happening with the Kurus. And Uddhava described all the battlefield of Kurukshetra, where all the Kaurava, most of them, all of them but one really, were killed. And he described what's happening with the Yadu, and he described what, like the end of the Yadu dynasty describes the end of Krishna. He's done now. He's done. I have responded to your question. It's this kind of question are polite. It's normal. I spoke about family things, but now I'm done. I'm going to follow the order of the Lord. But Vidura is like, wait. There's more. I want to hear. I want to hear from you, like the intimacy of that conversation. What did the Lord say? But Uddhava is on his way. And then Srila Prabhupada, after expressing like why Vidura wanted to hear, because Vidura could see this is a devotee with senior to me, is a very intimate devotee of the Lord. I want to hear from him. And so Prabhupada said, that is a way of courteous dealing between two devotees. So that led me to think about what I wanted to speak about today, which is Vaishnava etiquette. So Vaishnava etiquette is a set of conduct that if the devotee absorb and imbue, then it helps them in their advancement. We start with the most important rule and regulation, the most important conduct code is to always remember Krishna and never forget Krishna. And that's not cheap. That's not going to happen like, oh yeah, I will always remember Krishna. I don't need to do anything. And I will always, like not forget about Krishna. It doesn't happen for most of us. It doesn't happen like that. So for most of us, by following Vaishnava etiquette, it's called sadachar. Sadachar means the gentle behavior of devotees. And so there is etiquette for so many things. And so Lord Chaitanya, he instructed mainly Sanatana Goswami about all those rules and regulation, about how to deal in different ways. And in Antya Lila, chapter 4 and text 129 and 130, the Lord Chaitanya said, my dear Sanatan, although you are the deliverer of the entire universe, and also even the demigods and great saints are purified by touching you, it is a characteristic of a devotee to observe and protect the Vaishnava etiquette. Maintenance of the Vaishnava etiquette is the ornament of a devotee. So like Sanatana Goswami, he can deliver the whole universe. He has so much potency and is worshipped even by the demigods. And really the most, the characteristics that Lord Chaitanya glorified is because of that sadachar, always like protects the Vaishnava etiquette by his own behavior. And maintenance of the Vaishnava etiquette is ornament of a devotee. So I thought we can speak about etiquette in our Sadhvatov community. There's a lot of things we don't really emphasize. And those rule regulation, etiquette, it's not something we usually even speak about, what to speak to train people in. And I think it's a whole. It's missing. And what we do must is to support people to understand the philosophy. However, the philosophy cannot be separated from the sadachar, from the etiquette. Because if we separate, then it becomes cheap again. And it becomes like just something for others. And of course, Srila Rupa Goswami in the Nectar of Devotion, we have a group studying the Nectar of Devotion. He goes into a lot of that sadachar behavior. And in Antya-lila, it said, if one transgresses the law of etiquette, people make fun of him, and thus he is vanquished in both this world and the next. So that's how important it is, and it's in Antya-lila. So if we have like primary school is Bhagavad Gita, and then, like graduate school is Srimad Bhagavatam, and postgraduate is the Chaitanya Charitamrita. The Antya-lila, it comes at the end of the Chaitanya Charitamrita. So if it says in Antya-lila chapter 4, the verse just after that, so it's Lord Chaitanya still speaking with Sanatana Goswami. If one transgresses the law of etiquette, people make fun of him, and thus he's vanquished in both this world and the next. So, so there is a lot of etiquette. You can see it already. There is a lot of etiquette. Etiquette covers so many aspects. Etiquette with the temple, how to enter the temple, how to be in a temple room, how to be dressed in a temple room, when cleanliness in a temple room, how to sit in a temple room, how to face the deity in a temple room. All that is part of Vaishnava etiquette. Vaishnava etiquette is also in the kitchen. How, there is so much etiquette in the kitchen. And, etiquette is in the kitchen, how to cook for Krishna, and how to prepare a plate for Krishna. Also, etiquette is how to honor Prashadam, how etiquette is personal hygiene of the devotee, hygiene of the house, so much. And if we learn to live as a devotee of the Lord, following all that, then more and more it becomes ornament of a devotee. And people, Srila Prabhupada said, devotees are going to be revolutionary clean. That means anyone who comes to a devotee house or anyone who comes in contact with a devotee, they are not going to be familiar with them. They are going to right away feel this is a different way of life. It's a lifestyle. Bhakti yoga is a complete lifestyle. And as long as we keep some of our old habits about anything, then in a sense, we are missing an opportunity to elevate ourselves out of the material existence. Because if we do the same things that we were doing before we came to Krishna consciousness, then that's going to get in the way. Like yesterday, I was thinking of that, and I was reading some, and it was sharing. We are going to share a lot about the dealing, because that's what this is about. It's not about cleanliness. It's not about. I made a list of all the etiquettes, but I don't know where it is. Anyway, yeah, the Vaishnava etiquette in so many aspects of our life. So many aspects of our life. And one aspect that's often emphasized, but that's not the only one, is a relationship between devotees. So in the Nectar of Instruction, there is some guidance there. in text 5 of the Nectar of Instruction. I'm going to read it because I don't know it. I'm not going to read the Sanskrit, but it says, one should mentally honor the devotee who chant the holy name of the Lord. One should offer humble obeisances to the devotee who has undergone spiritual initiation, diksha, and is engaged in worshipping the deity. And one should associate with and faithfully serve that pure devotee with advance and in undeviated devotional service, and whose heart is completely devoid of the propensity to criticize others. So in the purport, Srila Prabhupada, I'm not going to read the full purport. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada goes describing the three types of devotees, Kanishta Adhikari, Madhyama Adhikari, and Uttama Adhikari. But I'm not going to go there. I'm just going to say, in order to intelligently apply the sixfold loving reciprocation mentioned in the previous verse, one must select proper person with careful discrimination. Srila Rupa Goswami therefore advises that we should meet with the Vaishnava in an appropriate way, according to their particular status. So the previous verse, everybody knows, is six exchange of love between devotees. So I'm going to read it. Offering gift in charity, accepted charitable gift. Revealing one's mind in confidence, inquiring confidentially. Accepting prasad and offering prasad are the 6 symptoms of love shared by one devotee to another. So Srila Prabhupada says those 6 exchanges, they need to also follow a proper etiquette. Yes? We don't expect like someone, for example, let's say offering gift in charity. Then there is a difference between offering a gift to a devotee who we consider is we give shelter to. Yeah, someone we are guiding, we are giving a certain kind of gift. And then, for example, for a devotee that we consider is a guide or someone we look up to, then it will be a different type of gift. Yeah, and if it's a devotee who are on the same level, like the gift is going to be different. So same thing with prasad, same thing with revealing one's mind in confidence. I reveal my mind in confidence to someone. I take shelter of someone who is mentoring me, and I accept the confidence of someone who I mentor and who someone I mentor or someone I'm guiding. Exchange of gifts. Well, for example, thank you for asking, Parampa. It's not time for question, but I'm going to respond anyway. So, for example, if I give a gift to someone I'm mentoring or someone I'm sheltering in spiritual life, I may give them a Bhagavad Gita. I may give them a book. If I'm giving a Bhagavad Gita to someone who is senior to me, someone who is mentoring, it's not appropriate. Does that make sense? To someone who is senior, maybe I will, give them dakshin, lakshmi, or I will give them a gift that's something that Prabhupada said, the disciple make sure the spiritual master is comfortable, for example. I read that yesterday. The spiritual master, like the gift, like, okay, that the spiritual master that is comfortable. Well, if someone was mentoring someone, is not going to so much be concerned by the comfort, the material comfort of the person is mentoring, but the person who is mentoring from the person who is taking shelter, then that's how the gift, for example. Did I respond to your question? Yes. Okay. And so sadachar, which is the behavior, the gentle behavior of a devotee. And so Lord Chaitanya instructed Srila Sanatana Goswami about the behavior of a Vaishnava. And so the essence is that we respect everyone. Like, so for us, in order to chant the holy name constantly, we want to be more humble than the straw in the street. more tolerant than a tree. We want to be devoid of all sense of prestige, and we want to offer all respect to others. So that means, okay, where is the sadachar? If I'm just humble and tolerant, and then I offer respect to everyone, then where is the sadachar? So it's also about knowing our position. Yeah, knowing our position, because humility is different than false humility. Humility can be manifested by rolling and by critiquing someone. And there is a difference in sadachar. There is a very difference between critiquing and criticizing. Like the role of someone who was I was reading the role of someone who is mentoring someone in spiritual life is to critique or to teach, to say, well, no, it's not the way we do things. Here is the way we do things. If you want to advance in spiritual life, if you want the way to learn sadachar, to learn Vaishnava etiquette is to learn it from someone who knows it. And then in ashram situation where someone seek training, then naturally, yesterday I was listening to a recording of the reading of Saint Teresa of Lisieux, and at one point she was in a convent. In a convent, she was taking care of novice, and so she was sharing with her superior mother. She was sharing with her, like, it's having such a growth for me to take care of novices. And she was sharing, and to really learn how they learn. Is that with some novices, for me to reveal my mind in confidence and reveal my fault and my shortcoming and my challenging in spiritual life, it's really helping them. It's really doing so much for them because they feel encouraged by that. And also they feel that they want to also become humble by being able to reveal their fault. And in some other novices, she was saying, if I revealed, my inner life and the ways that I'm coming short, then they become impudent. Mm-hmm. And then they criticize me. And then, of course, that's our responsibility is to make sure that the other devotee don't make offenses. Mm-hmm. So she was really looking at that. She was looking at how can I be in a way that the novices are making progress towards surrendering to God. And there is a way I can be that's going to help them. So I really like that example. And so Prabhupada is speaking about the sadachar and the code of etiquette. And etiquette is a code of behavior that delineates expectation for social behavior according to contemporary conventional norm. So for example, we have many relationships, and the closer the relationship, the more risk there is to go back to a behavior that's material behavior, the behaviors that we have learned, our conditioning, to go back to our conditioned behavior, for example, husband and wife, or parent children, or close friends, or like the more intimate the relationship, the more the tendency will be to, familiarity breed contempt. So with the familiarity, there is contempt, and then we forget about proper Vaishnava etiquette. And without really living those norms of behavior, then our association are not conducive for spiritual life anymore. Our association bring us back to the pool of material conditioning. I have so many things that I copied and pasted in a document that it's way too much. So in the Shastras, there is many example of the damage that not following proper Vaishnava etiquette creates, and there is so many examples of that. and it's described that material desire do not destroy spiritual life. Material desire covers spiritual life. However, often material desire lead to offenses, because if I'm not owning my material desire, if I'm not aware of accepting my material desire, then I'm going to cover them over. And as I cover them over, then, the weed are going to come out, and they are going to come in the form of so many type of anartha and behaviors that may become offensive and create pain in other devotees. And one other thing we don't really go over too much in our community is the 10 offenses against chanting the holy name of the Lord. It just happened this morning at Prabhupada House. They were leading the whole Mongol Arti. I was just participating. And they were reading, and Lakshmi Priya Prabhu was reading the 10 offenses. And the first offense is to blaspheme the devotee who are propagating, who have dedicated their life to the propagation of the holy name of the Lord. So that's the first offense. And that offense is going to prevent us from getting the benefit of our chanting. And of course, we know that offenses to the holy name, the best remedy for the offenses to the holy name is to chant. So the more we chant, the more we clear our heart. And to be aware, like, okay, how I'm behaving. And the only way, like there is that story with Ambarish Maharaj and Durvasa Muni. Correct me if I'm not correct. Anyway, Durvasa Muni had offended Ambarish Maharaj, and he was the Lord became very angry with him, and he was pursued by the Sudarshan chakra all around the universe, and I think it's Durvasa Muni. Durvasa Muni went to Lord Vishnu, and he tried, like, because he had made an offense to Ambarish Maharaj. Ambarish Maharaj was innocent Vaishnav, and he wanted to serve him the best. However, following the instruction of Vaishnav, he broke his fast. Again, fasting, eating, it's all Vaishnav etiquette. Vaishnav etiquette is so fragile. In so many examples in the Shastra, there is more than one rule. And sometimes we may follow one rule one way, and then someone get offended because that's rule. So that's the case. So Ambarish Maharaj was supposed to break his fast at a certain time, and it was really important that he breaks it. However, he had Durvasa Muni come with all his followers, and you're not supposed to eat before you feed someone. It's offensive. It's not proper Vaishnava etiquette to eat before you feed someone. So what does he do? He's supposed to break his fast, and he's supposed to not eat before he feed a Brahman and his followers. So he went to his Brahman, Brahman who were guiding him. So what do I do? And they said, well, like drinking water during the fast is sometimes considering fasting, and sometimes is considered breaking your fast. So if you drink water, you can kind of be safe. And it's a funny example, because often etiquette like that is just like, where do I go? And we don't want to be extreme with etiquette. At the same time, we want to mold our life to have that sadachara, to have the gentle behavior of a devotee with everything we do inside the house, outside of the house, in the temple, outside of the temple, in all our services, in all our interaction with devotees, different type of devotees, our interaction with guests, our interaction with people outside. So really to know what is that behavior. And Srila Prabhupada is the best example of sadachara. So if we study and absorb ourselves in the life of Srila Prabhupada, then we have the perfect example of knowing how to deal with those situations. So going back to Ambarish Maharaj, he drank the water according to the guidance he received. And when Durvarsha Muni, he figured it out because he can read the mind, he's a very powerful Muni. He became so angry and he cursed Ambarish Maharaj, I think. So, I don't remember all the detail, but anyway, Lord Vishnu became very angry with him. And in that story, it's very clear that the only way to atone from Vaishnav offenses, when we make an offense to the Vaishnav, is to go and beg them for forgiveness, beg them, please forgive me. I was in ignorance. I didn't know what I was doing. Please forgive me. And of course, in a Sattva way, to reestablish our integrity, the process we go over is the 5 A's. The 5 A's is a way to reestablish my integrity. In fact, it's about me, because when I'm out of integrity, I will see my behavior becoming worse and worse. When we are out of integrity, that's when we go down in so many ways, and including in our spiritual practices. So the only way to atone for Vaishnava Parad is to go. There is so many stories. There is a story of with Srivas Thakur, and anyway, I'm not going to go to too many stories. So Vaishnava Parad cannot be atoned by any means other than begging the pardon for offended Vaishnavas. That's from Srimad Bhagavatam 4:26 and 26, chapter 24 verse. If anyone offend a devotee in a moment of delusion or madness, he must fall at the devotee's feet and repent bitterly and weeping and full of contrition, beg forgiveness. He should declare himself a fallen wretch in need of that devotee's grace. The devotee is very merciful. His heart will soften, and he will embrace offenders by exonerating him. So the devotee is always merciful. I have seen in my time as a devotee, I have made offenses to devotees. I'm becoming upset with them or frustrated or whatever. Living in a temple, it's even more like a pressure cooker. And Saint Teresa of Lisieux, she speaks about that. She's cloistered. She's a cloistered nun, so they close the door. Mm-hmm. And I love that because that's what we want. We want to close the door, but in a sense, often I think, it's easier in a cloister convent than living in the world. And that's our consciousness. We want to be in a cloistered monastery. We want to close the door. We want to close the door and stop the behaviors of, the conditioned life. We want to do that. So she's a nun, and of course, there's different personalities. There is grumpy nun, and there is selfish nuns, and there is whatever. They're all rainbows of personality who are nuns inside the monastery. And then Saint Teresa of Lisieux, of course, she's a saint, so she's probably more advanced than most of them. She is more advanced than most of them, obviously. And she takes every opportunity. Every time there is a nun who is behaving in a way that's, like triggering, let's say, she feels a trigger. And then she always turns to Jesus and says, thank you for the good medicine. In fact, she calls it a feast. It's just, she doesn't say the medicine. Thank you for the feast. Because each time he gives us the opportunity to develop different virtues. and to respond to the situation in a way that's pleasing to God. So sadachar means behaviors that are going to be pleasing to God. And what is pleasing to Krishna? Lord Chaitanya is giving us guidance. Lord Chaitanya, he gave everything to Sanatana Goswami and Srila Rupa Goswami. And by reading those, Prabhupada's books, by like learning from Srila Prabhupada, Prabhupada could be so patient with some, and roaring like a lion with others, without ever committing any offenses. Because Srila Prabhupada is one of those devotees who doesn't have any propensity to criticize. He doesn't have the propensity to criticize. So he can roar. Yeah, I remember there was one, it's a very famous interaction of Prabhupada. It was one reporter from a newspaper. I don't remember where it is, maybe Chicago Airport, I'm not sure. But the reporter was there and she asked Srila Prabhupada, why are you shaving your head? And Srila Prabhupada looked at her and said, why are you shaving your legs? And that's all. And, for us, we don't want to imitate Srila Prabhupada, because if we have any judgment about anything, we have judgment about a question, we have judgment about her legs, we have judgment about anything, then we are coming from that conditioned state. And of course, we don't want to imitate the pure devotee. Still, Srila Prabhupada, he, according to time, place, and circumstance, he was always in that sadachar. He didn't transgress etiquette. He was, in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, he said, Lord Chaitanya said, by observing the etiquette, you have satisfied my mind. Who else but you will show this example? So that's the point. The point is to always remember Krishna, never forget Krishna, and please Krishna. By following proper sadachar, by proper etiquette, then we are satisfy the mind of Lord Chaitanya. We will not want to satisfied Lord Chaitanya. There is another verse for Antya Lila also. It says, some behave very well, but do not preach the cult of Krishna consciousness, where others preach, but do not behave properly. So it should be recognized that the time period when you simultaneously, so he's still speaking to Lord Chaitanya, you simultaneously perform both duties in relation to the holy name by your personal behavior and by your preaching. Therefore, you are the spiritual master of the entire world, for you are the most advanced devotees in the world. So we want to arrange our life in such a way that our behavior is preaching. Our behavior is preaching. Our behavior is going to affect people. That just being in contact with us, people are going to be affected. People are going to be transformed. So there is a quote here. Brahmanical life means to be very, very clean inside and outside. Inside by chanting and hearing, and outside by bathing 3 times daily. If not possible, at least 2 times, but never less than once. Never less than once. I grew up in a family that we were bathing once a week. Bathing after passing stools, the qualification of the Brahman are described in chapter 18 of the Bhagavad Gita. Peacefulness, self-control, austerity, purity, tolerance, honesty, wisdom, knowledge, and religiousness. These are the quality by which the Brahman work. So, and then, the correction of the body, like marking the body, because every time we see a devotee, when we come to Vaishnava etiquette, then any devotee we see is a temple of Vishnu, because we mark our body with 12 marks of tilak. That signifies that we are a temple of Vishnu. So when we see a devotee, if we remember that is a temple of Vishnu. And in fact, practicing to see the super soul in everyone, knowing that this person doesn't need me. This person doesn't need to be rectified by me. There is someone who is taking care. The Suridam Sarva Bhutanam, that Krishna is a friend of every living entity, Sarva Bhutanam, every living entity, and is in the heart of everyone. So we don't need to rectify anyone. We want to know, we want to pray. Please rectify me. When we see fault in someone else, we want to see those faults in us. I was listening to I'm receiving some healing from a lady, and she does spiritual healing too. She said, if you see some fault in someone and you want to advance spiritually, she said, if you want to advance spiritually, ask yourself, where is that fault inside of you? Where is that fault inside of you? Where is it that I had the same behavior? If you feel offended by someone, if you feel someone have offended you in some way or another, out of ignorance, people are all offending us out of ignorance. So if we see someone offending us, asking ourselves, oh, how did I offend someone in the same way? And of course, there is, the law of karma, whatever comes around, comes around. So if someone offends us or do something to us, we know it's belong to us. It's not, there is no mistake in the universe. Krishna perfectly arranged our karma. And of course, when we surrender to Krishna, he's using our karma to support us to make advancement in spiritual life. So now I have a few letters from Srila Prabhupada that we can read there fun. I will read a few. Yes, to call one another Prabhu is all right, but not to become Prabhu. So we want to honor each other and call each other Prabhu, but not Prabhu mean master. We want to do that. We want to call everybody Prabhu and think of ourselves as servant. Servant of the servant of the servant. This is a proper etiquette for a Vaishnava, to always feel like I am the servant of the servant of the servant. To accept others as Prabhu and remain as servant is the idea. But become somebody is calling you Prabhu. One should not become a Prabhu and treat others as servant. In other words, everyone should feel himself as servant and not feel himself as Prabhu, because he is being called Prabhu. This will make the relationship congenial. It's so beautiful, like really being that consciousness, the sadhachar, the Vaishnava etiquette, to call everybody Prabhu. Every single person, every single devotee around us, to call them Prabhu. And if they call us Prabhu, to really see ourselves as Das. I'm a servant. It is nice that was a letter to Imavati Devidasi, June 14, 1968. So very early on. It is nice that you're doing preaching work there, but you should know that such a practices like stealing are against the principle of Krishna consciousness. I always want that my students should be very ideal in character and not discredit our society. The Srila Prabhupada letter 10/28/68. Yeah, I have always like a lot of mixed feeling again, because I steal flower for Krishna. I do every single day practically until the flower come in my garden. So I do steal flower. And I'm thinking, okay, I'm helping the owner of the flower because they are doing service by taking care of those bushes, and I pray for them. And I'm really in that consciousness that, the owner of the flower are going to benefit. And the flower bushes and every flower are benefiting. So I'm in a preaching mood in stealing the flower. And at the same time, it's true that if someone sees me stealing the flower, then their opinion about devotees is going to be lessened. And that's the great offenses. It's an offense to create in people's minds some doubts about the character of the devotees. So I try to hide. But you know, it's a sad child. It's like it's a question of those situations where it's like etiquette is like ethic, you know, and ethic is never black and white, it's always a conversation. Okay, so I'm going to stop here and I'm going to read the verse again. Satam Mahabhagavatam Rajantam Koravar Shaba Vishambas Abhitatedam Mukyam Krishna Parikrahe. While Uddhava, the chief most confidential amongst the devotees of the Lord, was going away, Vidura, in affection and confidence, questioned him. Thank you for listening. Any comment, question? It's like a direct class on something we don't speak much about, which is Vaishnava etiquette. And again, etiquette is everything we do practically as devotees. There is a proper way to do it. Like I have someone coming next weekend for 2 months, and this person doesn't know anything. And I told her, you know, everything is going to change. I really wanted her to know what she was expecting. I didn't want her to just come and I say, you know, here is what we do. And we live a life completely differently, the way we bathe, the way we take care of our bodies, the way we take care of our home. Every moment of the day is different. And you're going to want to learn it if you want to come here. You don't have to come here, but if you come here, you need to be in that consciousness of wanting to learn every aspect of Vaishnava lifestyle. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Nandini Prabhu.
Malini Prabhu, thank you for your class. I was excited, like you mentioned yesterday, something about etiquette and preparing for the class today. So I wanted to come because I heard about this like Vaishnav etiquette, and it was like some kind of mystery for me. And I got a lot of clarity, and especially what was helpful for me when you said like the essence is respect and tolerance and honoring others. That's something I can relate to and connect with. And then there's all the details where I'm more and more curious and open to hear and learn and take on some of these guidelines. And also what I appreciate is this, that following the Vaishnav etiquette or the gentle behavior of the devotee, it's about like, that's not how you said it, but that's how I take it. It's about honoring and respecting the teachings that we get, the education we get from Srila Prabhupada and the Mahamantra and the Goswamis. It's to like, because other people, we might be like an entrance door to that wisdom and teaching and with our behavior, we respect what we receive, and we also give the proper picture what it is about. That it's about like the consciousness and seeing everyone or every devotee, maybe perhaps everyone, as a temple of Vishnu. So, and what I struggle with is this Prabhu. You know, like, because like you said, in this Sattva top environment, that wasn't part of the language. And at some point you started, like you brought it in. And for me, this Prabhu has something about like creating a distance. And I'm not sure what to do with that. I feel hesitant to use it.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's you're happy. We speak about Vaishnava etiquette, and you can appreciate, or maybe you're starting to have more understanding about what it is and the code of conduct and all that. And it's about honoring the teaching and living. I would say honoring and living it too. And then some parts of the Vaishnava etiquette, they are they feel like creating distance. And I relate to that, how they feel like they give the impression of creating distance in terms of the material juice that may be there, that is kind of taken out of it. And that distance kind of allow Vaishnava etiquette is to enter a different type of relationship. And with the Prabhu, I know from experience, and I brought it up, and I want to bring a lot more, because what's true at the beginning, like when people come to Krishna consciousness, you don't want to right away give them everything, unless they want everything, like the lady coming here, I'm going to give her everything. But, like in a seminar, we're not going to bring that up. But then there is holes. There is holes if that's the whole interaction with devotees, like are not within the context of Vaishnava etiquette, then very easily it can create familiarities. And the familiarity breeds contempt, Srila Prabhupada says. So yes, there is a distance. And in that distance, there is a protection from entering into familiar material interaction. Because we don't want familiarity, or we don't want like our relationship to stay like, with familiarities, or like lack of, there is a word I'm looking for, lack of respect, in a sense, coming to a place where it becomes really sentimental and familiar. And of course, we are used to that, because in the material existence, in our conditional state, we think the juice and rasa of a relationship is in that sentimental familiarity. And so we are attached to that. And of course, we don't want to let go of that, because it feels like letting go of attachment is very, very difficult for an embodied being. And we want to hold on to our attachment because we feel like this is securing, comfortable. Even so, those attachments and sentimental familiarity, that they create more attachment, and they create more conditioning. So yes, spiritual life means we detach, we distance ourselves, and that distance need to exist in order to fly our own, our own flight back to Godhead and our relationship with Krishna, and not be dependent on any fallible soldier. Srila Prabhupada calls that fallible soldier. So and by following etiquette, like the Prabhu is one of them, you don't have to follow it, but it's one of them. I found in my own experience that it creates that distance that allow more spiritual association, more association that are conducive to put Krishna in the center and not the relationship at the center, or a person in the center. That's not Krishna.
So I want to summarize, because I want to understand. So the Prabhu, for example, that's the distance that is created. It's more like shutting out any sentimentality or any like games, I would say, games between people, or like getting attached or loosening boundaries, or so it's like a distance that creates a space. Like if I'm in that consciousness, then it creates a space for me to be even more, I don't know, even more loving and respectful.
Even more loving and respectful with Krishna in the center.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm not dealing with a person because I'm friend or we are like-minded. Like the woman want to come here. She said, well, but maybe you will not like me after a while. Because that's a consciousness, material consciousness. You will not like me after a while. And I responded, I said, well, it's not if I like you or not. If you come here and you want to learn about Krishna, I'm going to support you to learn about Krishna. And yes, if there is conflict or things, we are going to take care of them. But liking or not liking, it's not part of it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So the Prabhu helped bring that consciousness. It's not about liking, it's about knowing devotees, our position, like dealing with devotees to support us in spiritual life. And that's it. There's no more liking, not liking, I'm your friend, I'm your enemy, like Prahlad Maharaj says. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it's like it helps us come to this consciousness. Like
Yeah.
everyone is a temple, everyone is a master, and I'm a servant of the servant.
I'm a servant of the servant. And the way I serve, there is three types of relationship. One relationship with people, I shelter, and I don't want to bring familiarity there because that's not going to help them. They're not going to follow me if I'm familiar or sentimental. Mm. And then there is a relationship with people who are senior, and if I'm familiar with them, I'm not going to get anything from them either. If I'm friend and sentimental, then it blocks. And then there is the most difficult relationship to have really as Vaishnav is the one on the equal level. But that's it. Everything else that's not entering that paradigm, then it's our sentimental condition attachment to, sociality, friendship, and love. Srila Prabhupada says that so many times. Society, friendship, and love. Society, friendship, and love. Society, friendship, and love. It's almost a mantra.
Thank you. Yeah, I do have more questions, but I see Gajendra. I will, if there's time later, I will ask him.
Gajendra Prabhu. Hare Krishna, dear Gajendra Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Well, this is one of these discussions that for me could probably go on all day, getting into it more and more. There's a couple quick comments to make, but the main thing I really want to do is share a short story that would take me maybe 3 minutes to read, but I think it's a very beautiful story, and that's the main reason I want to share it. The quick comments I want to make before reading it. It's a sort of really about the essentials, I think, for a lot of us ultimately. It's sort of thing like etiquette can sound a little bit like a protocol or rule or regulation, a way of doing things. But then there's the essence of what's really trying to be done. I think etiquettes or the following of protocols, if done in the right spirit, can be very, very beautiful. I mean, to call somebody Prabhu can really be a very affectionate. Mm-hmm. Like it could be kind of like, the or separating, but it could just be really loving. Mm-hmm. So there's that. The story, I just want to read it. It's a story about Vaishnava offense, and you're probably familiar with it. And I'll just go ahead and one day in Vrindavan, Srila Rupa Goswami sat wrapped in meditation, feeling great bliss in his heart. While he was sitting in his samadhi, he observed a wonderful pastime. The gopis were decorating Srimati Radharani while Krishna stood behind her watching. Krishna revealed his presence to the Sakis, bringing an increasing festival of joy to their hearts. But Radharani was unaware that he was there. In many wonderful ways, the gopis braided and decorated Radha's hair. Then they placed a mirror before her. As she gazed at the beauty of her own face, Radharani also saw Sri Krishna's moon-like face in the mirror. Radha became very shy and quickly covered herself with her cloth. The gopis happily laughed at this, and Srila Rupa Goswami also joined in their laughter. Just at that moment, a Vaishnava arrived who was very eager to see Rupa Goswami. Seeing Rupa laughing, the Vaishnava did not say anything, but feeling very sorrowful in his heart, he went to Srila Sanatan Goswami. The Vaishnava told Sanatan, so there's a side note here. According to the tradition of Vrindavan, the Vaishnava was a very famous devotee.
Yeah, could you give the reference from where you're reading from?
I've seen this published many places. I just pulled it up right now on the quickest link I could find. It's the exact same story, but this is
I
just
heard that story, but I'm not sure that it's in Srila Prabhupada's books, and I want to clarify that, because I'm not wanting you to stop it, but I want to also know the reference, because I know I have heard that story, and I don't feel I ever heard or read it from Srila Prabhupada's books or conversation or anywhere like that. So that's why. And I'm not saying
I don't know. I mean, I'm happy to stop. I don't have any attachment.
You can continue. I just wanted to know it's important to always know the reference or where that's come from and who wrote it and where it's coming from.
Yeah, it's a good question. I don't have an exact scriptural reference for it. Would you like me to continue or not?
You can choose. I just wanted to be clear about that. That we don't have referrals, so I can go on the internet, find so many stories, but without like nobody was very keen into always referring is reference. Where that come from? Who wrote that? Who translated it? Is it? Yeah. I think it's really important to always have that aspect when quoting something or reading something. Because there's so many Vaishnava Sampradaya and Apa Sampradaya and stories, then how do we discriminate? And that story, I know it, and I know I've heard it many times too. Mm-hmm. But I don't remember hearing it from Srila Prabhupada.
I can't really give you the reference of Srila Prabhupada referring to it or not.
You can continue reading, but knowing that now, okay, we know. Okay, so we don't know where it's coming from. Then it's for everybody here. It's important to know that.
I mean, I just know it's Gaudiya Vaishnavism. It's not like from some other mission that's doing something. It's it's followed by the direct quotes citing from Narahari Chakravarti, and I mean, personally, I would finish it because I think it's a really nice story, because I really
I just wanted to establish the proper, reference point. Yeah.
I think there's some really important lessons in it that have to do with not about misjudging situations or speculating or the thing.
Yeah, there's so many nuances, like with English Maharaj, there's so many nuances, and the core is to always remember Krishna, never forgetting. But please continue.
Yes, it's short. I'll finish. So So the gopis were happily laughing at this pastime, and Rupa Goswami also joined in their laughter. And just at that moment, this Vaishnava who arrived, who was eager to see Rupa, and Rupa was laughing. And this part is where they say something like, according to tradition in Vaishnava in Vrindavan, this Vaishnava was lame and unable to walk. So they're saying that sort of tradition. And so when Rupa Goswami laughed, there's some idea that they thought he was laughing at the disability. So that seemed to be the part that they're leaving to just maybe hearsay tradition. Anyways, the Vaishnava told Sanatan, I went to see Sri Rupa, but when he saw me, he suddenly burst into laughter, my heart filled with sorrow. I don't know why he acted in that way. I didn't say anything, but came to ask you about it. Sri Sanatan then explained the true reason for Rupa Goswami's laughter. Hearing this, the Vaishnava became repentant at heart. Lamenting greatly, the Vaishnava said, why did I approach him at that moment? Not understanding his heart, I have offended him. The Vaishnava became very agitated. Sanatan Goswami pacified him and made him peaceful again. Meanwhile, when the Vaishnava had felt offended, Srila Rupa Goswami suddenly lost his vision of the Lord's pastimes. He became very disturbed and looked everywhere. Considering the situation carefully, he concluded that someone must have come to see him while he was absorbed in seeing Krishna's pastimes. I did not honor the person that came, and thereby I committed an offense. Thinking in this way, Rupa also went to Sanatan Goswami's place. When he saw Srila Rupa Goswami coming, that Vaishnava approached him. Falling on the ground, he offered his respects. With great humility, he told Rupa, O great soul, I have committed an offense to you. Please forgive me. Previously, when I went to see you, I did not understand that you were in rapt meditation. Standing before Srila Rupa Goswami, the Vaishnava prayed, please be kind and forgive me for my offense. If you are merciful to me, only then can my heart become peaceful. When he heard these words, Srila Rupa Goswami became very agitated at heart. Falling to the ground, he offered respectful obeisances to that Vaishnava. Folding his hands, he said, I have no power to say how great was the offense that I committed to you. Please kindly forgive me. Both devotees were very humble. Forgiving each other, they both became peaceful. The two then went to Srila Sanatan Goswami. For a long time, they all plunged into relishing nectarian topics of Lord Krishna. When everyone heard about this incident, they all became filled with wonder. There's so many lessons that are unquestionably aligned with what Srila Prabhupada taught that can be taken from the story.
Yeah, like so it's a very well-known story that people repeat. Just curious, but yeah, so many nuances. Like the Vaishnav heart is always to feel like he's an offender and nobody offends him. Yeah.
And it kind of goes. It also touched upon something that I've always thought, like when you become offended, that's offensive.
Yes. Yeah, Vaishnav doesn't ever become offended. He's always feeling like he's an offender.
Yeah.
And becoming like when you become when you feel offended, then you're the offender. Yeah.
So I'm gonna research a little bit and see if I can find a source.
Yeah. Like we can unlimitedly find stories, Vaishnav stories online about every topic. And where I'm leaning myself personally for my personal spiritual life and also for, people I try to shelter is to stay within the realm of Srila Prabhupada, feeling complete there. Because as soon as we get out, it's also a question of etiquette somewhere, but as soon as we get out, then that out has no hand. And also, I believe that Srila Prabhupada knows how to sort out what story to tell us and what story not to, because he knows our state of conditioning and how deeply conditioned we are. Yeah. And then, yeah, the Vaishnava etiquette to jump over the spiritual master. That's one too. And it's so, like within, for example, some society of Vaishnav, it's like a common thing to do every day at Bhagavatam class. And that's a breaking of etiquette, because, stories, there is unlimited amount of story I don't know. And I don't want to know them until Srila Prabhupada reveals them to me. They are revealed in my heart. Yeah. So, it's another one. It's another one. What's my ethic? What's my ethic around that kind of approach to knowledge, receiving knowledge, following the Srila Prabhupada, following the spiritual master? What does the spiritual master want me? And that's not black and white either. It's full of nuance that each of us, we can kind of decide. But this story is very beautiful and about, and I know I heard it before, so it's common to say it, but I don't know where it comes from, and that feel like, I wonder where that comes from. Because there's so many moralities, so many Puranas, so many Upanishads, so many, so many Acharya who read so many books translated by so many people and all that, and then it doesn't end. And thank you. I really appreciate it. The nuances that you brought about, like the Vaishnav, if he feels offended, very soon after he feels offended, he feels like he's an offender by feeling offended by a Vaishnav. Anything else?
Not for me.
And Nandini, you had more you wanted to share or ask?
Yes. Now I have even more, but I will go. But I will go back to this. Before, when you were responding to my question, my comment, you said, so in a relationship with other devotees, so there's like three types. Either I'm relating to someone who is senior to me, and I'm like a student, I ask for guidance, or and then the other one is like I am mentoring someone, and then equal. So how do I know, like, to know whether someone is senior to me? Does that depend on how many years he's chanting longer than me, or like, because someone asked me today, like, so when did you start bhakti yoga? When did you start chanting? And I was wondering, why is he asking this question? And
well, that's exactly what we read about today, in a sense, because Vidura is like older. So in years, you have practiced Krishna consciousness longer, because those devotees, they have practiced Krishna consciousness since their birth. And Uddhava is way younger, is one generation younger. So you have practiced Krishna consciousness less, just by his age. But Uddhava, and it's the whole point of this part of the Bhagavatam, because, I don't want to reveal what's happening. What's happening is Uddhava will say, no, I'm not qualified to give you knowledge because you're senior to me. But Vidura thinks, no, you're senior because you're more advanced. So that question is there, right there in that part of the Bhagavatam, and that's what we are looking at. Because, for example, when Parikshit Maharaj went on the bank of the Yamuna, because he was cursed to die in 7 days, he went there, and there were sages that were on earth for hundreds of years. They came from the Himalayan mountain. They were very advanced. Srila Vyasadeva was there. The compiler of the Veda was there. And nobody took the seat of honor until the young 16-year-old Sukadeva Goswami came all naked. And they knew he's a speaker. He's the one we are going to listen from. So how do I know? There is a social etiquette. that's connected with a society or an organization, and it tends to be based on ancienity, years, you know. once I was with a devotee, and I probably came to Krishna consciousness 4 or 5 years earlier than her. And then she was telling me, oh, you're senior to me. And I was thinking, this is like absurd. You know, it's absurd because she's about my age, you know, like that. It's absurd. Like, and so, but within an organization, a society, that's mostly what's happening, which is like with, you know, it's society or other organization, it's really based on time since you became a devotee. And if we really read the Shastra, there's no proof that's the characteria. The characteria is a relationship. See, if you treat someone as a friend, you're not going to receive knowledge from them. And same thing, if someone come to you and want to be a friend with you, they treat you as a friend, and maybe you may be like, yeah, let's be friends. But then that will not create the platform for transcendental knowledge to be given. So it's really like, it is a societal and organization structure for sure, but it's also a personal choice. I can choose this person, regardless how long they are being devotee or not. I think this person is advanced and is more advanced than me. And I want to learn from that person. And I'm going to treat them that way. Yeah, like Vidura is treating Uddhava that way, because he knows Uddhava is most intimate with Krishna. And so there is a lot of nuance to your question. It's not black and white again. And this part of the Bhagavatam is exactly what's happened, because next Uddhava will refuse. He will say, no, I'm not qualified to give you instruction because you're my senior. Why don't you go to Maitreya Rishi? And Maitreya Rishi, remember, when he came to be present at the time Krishna was leaving the planet, is described as not even a Vaishnav and not a pure devotee. Still, Uddhava sent Vidura to Maitreya Rishi because Maitreya Rishi is more ancient, older, like that. And he was present at the time Krishna was speaking to Uddhava at the end of his life. So that whole part that's what it is, Vaishnava etiquette and the nuance of it, and how it's like the Gajana story, you know, like how it's all full of nuances. That's, you know, like who is offended who, and like, oh, he offended me because he was laughing, and then, oh my God, I was such an offender to think he offended me because I was laughing. You know, like the Gajana Prabhu's like stories, it's full of nuances. So it's not, what I want to say is that etiquette is not black and white, and etiquette is an important part of how we receive knowledge and how we behave in the society of devotees and the society as a whole, to really do our service, which is to spread the holy name of the Lord all around and support people to more and more please Krishna. Did I respond to your question?
Yes and no. Yes and no. Yeah, it does respond that it's not black and white, and I'm just like, where I'm landing is to trust like my inner wisdom, or maybe super soul guidance, to know how to relate to everyone I meet.
Yeah, that's you know, if we listen to Super Soul is going to guide us to know how to interact with each person. Like Saint Teresa of Lisieux, she knew she was taking care of the novice, and with some novice she will reveal her mind about her shortcoming and what her struggle, and he will help the novice. And with some novice she will never reveal her mind and her shortcoming and her challenges, because he will hinder them in their spiritual life. Parampara have a quote, something, and I saw it, Parampara. So it's guidance and knowing the guideline too, because guidance, like to not, like is Guru, Shastru, and Sadhu, to not simply rely on what my mind is telling me. Because my mind may tell me, oh, I want to be friend because I feel uncomfortable to take authority or be a guru. Because the instruction of Lord Chaitanya is, be a guru. We need to take that responsibility. And that means creating distance with people, not creating friendship, like society, friendship, and love. So it's, like really knowing, okay, this is super soul. And this is my mind who's trying to make me comfortable and to make those distinctions. And Parampara said, even in Western society and in recent times, there was expectation of etiquette in all relationships, yes, including husband and wife, parents and children, and to not follow etiquette was considered low class. Yeah, in recent, history, in some societies, there is still etiquette. I remember when I was in Japan. In Japan, there is so much etiquette. There is etiquette based on matter, based on birth, not based on spiritual. But it's the same thing. There is even a language. If you speak with someone who is like higher in hierarchy of, I don't know, a boss or a wealthy person, you have one language. And if you speak down on someone, again, it's material, so it's terrible. Down on someone with like a worker class or something, you have a different language to use. So yes, etiquette is part of a cultured society. Any society that have a culture will have a rule of conduct and etiquette. Yeah. And then, and in Krishna consciousness, what's beautiful is that etiquette is based on what's the most conducive for our spiritual life and the spiritual life of others. That's, in fact, that's the bottom line. What's most conducive for me to remember Krishna and not forget him, and others to remember Krishna and not forget him. And distance, detachment and attachment, distance are very helpful tools to create spiritual upliftment. Yeah. So like knowing what to follow and how to follow it, then it's so many nuances. It's not black and white, and we don't want to put it in black and white. But the guidance of the tree, it's an nectar of instruction. I think in the Sri Upanishad, those three, I think in my spiritual life, it's very helpful to have those, like three, like knowing how to act according to where I want to position myself with a certain person. Otherwise, I just distance myself all the time too, or come too close and then need to distance myself because familiarity breeds contempt. Hare Krishna. Thank you all for being here. Kantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Go, Premanandi Hari Hari Bol.